At around £100 new, this is one of the cheapest 50mm lenses around. Better still, it has an ultra bright 1.2 aperture. This is TTArtisan's 50mm f1.2 for Micro Four Thirds. Buckle up and let's find out together if it's any good. Welcome back to my lens review, and today I have a lens that kind of caused a bit of a stir on the net over the past few months, and I finally got my hands on one to test. Regardless of format, a 50mm lens with a 1.2 aperture is a good option for portraits, especially for Micro Four Thirds. A 50mm lens is equivalent to 100mm in 135 format, which is perfect for half-length or even headshots. However, I'm not shooting model these days due to current situations, so I've been playing around with nature around my area, which you will see some sample photos later. Over the past couple of years, I've done many Micro Four Thirds portrait lens reviews, from my all-time favourite Olympus M-Drigo 45mm 1.8 to my workhorse Olympus 45mm 1.2 Pro to the amazing Panasonic 42.5 1.2 Nocticron to the most recent budget autofocus Yongnuo 42.5 1.7 Mark II. So, TTArtisan is competing against a very crowded space with tons of capable medium tele prime focal lengths that are gunning for the same bunch of users. However, despite they all have similar focal lengths, each is quite different. Price, performance, and interestingly, rendering. To kickstart our review, let's have a look at the build quality. Despite its rather odd-looking lens barrel, TTArtisan 50mm 1.2 is built like a tank. In a typical Chinese fashion these days, the lens is a full metal and glass construction. Focusing ring is really smooth. And yes, finally, I have a menu lens that has a click-stop aperture ring. Yeah, you can hear that. I know, all of you video guys love to have clickless ring, and I do too, but it does seem that this lens is geared towards photographers, particularly for close-up landscape and portraits. The aperture ring itself is very well damped, with good resistance that you won't accidentally change the settings, which is very nice. Enhancing operation further, there are two tabs for your fingers to rest on, making changing aperture setting easier and does not slip easily. Strangely, instead of using a pinch plastic or a metal push-on lens cap, TTArtisan decides to use a very old-fashioned metal screw-on cap. I don't have any complaint about it, but just odd that the designer decides to use a 1930 design instead. Just with other budget menu lenses I've tested so far, the marking on the lens are printed and not engraved, which means that they may rub out under heavy use. And there's no lens hood in the box either, so if you want something to cover your gorgeous huge front glass, you'll need to budget one as well. But for £100 or $100, yeah, I wouldn't complain about its build quality. Just look at the front of this lens. This massive front element is just so nice to look at. But this comes at a cost when considering its handling. This lens is heavy. At 336 grams, this deceivingly small TTArtisan 50mm 1.2 is 10% heavier than the superficially bigger Olympus 75mm 1.8, which means it doesn't balance too well on smaller and lighter Micro Four Thirds cameras. It works best with larger bodies that also have larger grips. For me, it fits pretty nice with my Olympus EM1 Mark III. However, it does give you the weight for a more stable video handling, despite the lens's main target towards photographers. This is where things get interesting. TTArtisan 50mm 1.2 has the ability to resolve, but it does employ a rather old optic design, resulting in more vintage rendering, which I'll talk about it later. With 7 elements in 5 groups, it's not a very complex lens at all. aperture opens up to a very bright 1.2 and closes to a minimum of f16, together with a minimum focusing distance of 50 centimeters, which isn't exactly close by Micro Four Thirds standards. At wide open, the center sharpness is not bad, though shrouded by halo, resulting a slightly softer look. Stopping down to even 1.4, things start to look more solid, and by f2, it's looking pretty crisp. Optimal sharpness achieves at 5.6 and diffraction kicks in at f11. Edge is similar story. At 1.2, it's pretty fuzzy, but when you stop down to f2.8, things looking pretty good. Best corner achieved at 6.3 before diffraction kicks in at f11. TTArtisan 50mm f1.2 dust vignette is pretty pronounced at 1.2, but completely gone by 2.8. However, as a portrait lens, a bit of vignette wide open does enhances focus of your subject, so I don't usually count against a lens like this. However, fringing can be problematic with this lens, which can be pretty heavy at f1.2, especially around specular highlights and high contrast areas in the frame. But it's all gone by 2.8. Distortion? Well, you don't have to worry about it at all, because there is none. Now, let's talk about tonne. To be frank, I quite like the overall rendering of this TTArtisan 50mm f1.2. The old optic design allows halo to form around the bright areas, resulting a dreamy look at 1.2. When you stop down to even 1.4, the dreaminess decreases dramatically, and by 2.8, it looks like any modern lenses you find on the market today. The fringing problem I mentioned earlier does affect the quality of bokeh balls, especially those created by distant lights. Here you can clearly see a fringing ring around the balls. With 10 aperture blades, you would expect the bokeh balls to remain pretty round when stops down. Well, sadly, this isn't the case. The construction of the aperture mechanism doesn't allow the normal closing action that you see in modern lenses. Just like its rendering, bokeh shape is very old school too. It's a matter of taste though, as I've seen time and time again in movies that directors choose to use a lens like this to create a different look on the outer focus area and the bokeh balls. Because of how the aperture closes, Sunstar is pretty nice too. So it's a little hard for me to rate the bokeh quality. It's kinda like a Marmite affair. You either love it or hate it. For me, I love it because it's different, especially for filming. Overall, I love this TTArtisan 50mm f1.2. And don't forget that this lens is adapted to Micro Four Thirds. So for that, I would give it extra marks, since most full frame or APS-C lenses perform worse when adapted to a micro world. It's because of the 2x crop factor, everything is magnified under our senses. So any flaw that may not show in larger format will instantly reveal themselves before our eyes. For that, TTArtisan 50mm f1.2 actually performs really well, and totally usable as an art lens for portraits and nature. The ability to isolate subject in a dreamy kind of way makes the whole image very artistic, which is also great for black and white photography in general. So there you go. My final words is that this lens is pretty cool, and I would recommend it for anyone who may want to experience with in-camera effects. And for £100 or $100, it's almost a no-brainer. Just be careful with that 1.2 aperture. The depth of field is pretty thin, especially for a manual lens. So that's it for now. Let me know what you think about this TTArtisan 50mm f1.2, and have you used anything similar? Do you like the images I took? And how's that dreamy rendering? Let's have a discussion in the comment section down below. You know what to do now. Thumb if you enjoyed this review, and sub if you want to stay in touch with all things Micro Four Thirds, and of course, Olympus. Peace!
Yes, I'm recording. Actually, double check. Double check. I think
Otherwise I just can't hear
it is actually recording now.
Yay.
Yeah. It's a nice cup of soup. Oh. It's the it's a nice lens. Do it again. It's a very nice lens, the Panasonic Leica Nocticron 42.5.
Sounds like a Pokemon.
1.2. It's a very long name. Panasonic Leica Nocticron 42.5. No, DG. That's very cool. No, 1.2. Shit. It's a very long name. I keep messing that up. Okay, one more time. Go on, one more time. When this session is available, so we change our change our plan completely. So we're gonna decide to use one more time. Okay. One more time.
You got the song this time.
Yeah. Was it?
Yep.
Oh, cool. Well, as you know that Charlie is a. So we might as well look at one of the most beautiful lenses for the Micro Four Third and produce some. So as you know that it's very difficult. Oh no. Yes. We decided to dump all our plans and change our. No, I'll keep looking at that knob. Sorry.
Statue, just so everybody's aware.
Today we're looking at this lens, supposed to be, or doubt to be, one of the most beautiful lenses on the Micro Four Third platform.
Cool, and it's not Olympus.
And it's not an Olympus car.
You were doing so well.
I know. Okay, come on. I can definitely do this.
We just told everyone you're awake. You have to do it.
Oh, God, I just cracked my neck. Okay, there you go. Yep, I'm good.
Yeah, I've got a hair towel. Sorry.
Good.
I'm ready.
Ready? Grill. Ribs. Burgers. Steak.
Right, stop it, 'cause I'm actually hungry.
Nachos.
Stop.
My favorite.
With cheese.
Beef.
And cheese.
And cheese.
Do you remember when we got one bit of cheese in that?
Yeah. What was that? That was the Camden Town.
The Polaroid.
Polaroid, yes. Polaroid. It's my beautiful face. It's my beautiful face. Shit, she's recording.
Yeah, she usually is, yeah.
Okay. One can say ya.
Yes.
Ya.
Yeah.
Is it an American thing or no?
Yeah, I think so.
Ya.
Like RuPaul's Drag Race or something. No, where
Ya.
it came from.
Okay, ya.
Yeah.
Ya.
You have to put the S on the end.
Ya.
Otherwise you're just German.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, it's a German thing.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yes.
just half German. Okay.
Oh, these young people.
These young people? Oh, I'm Yoda. Yes. Beautiful this lens is.
Lens has an S on the end.
I don't know how it's saying. When we look at something, it's actually very easy to just walk straight. And
Sounds more like Kermit. I've been trying to figure out who it is, but yeah, that's it.
oh, but Yoda speaks like that though.
It's a lot.
He's got a lot of.
Yeah, it's a lot deeper.
Yes.
We have the giggles, ladies and gentlemen.
If you like the video,
Do I need to do it? Do you need me to do it?
yes, you did.
Okay.
I'm holding my breath.
Are you quite finished? You're not at all.
Good, I'm good.
You're not. Look at your face.
Yes.
What is going on?
Yeah. slap me. Yeah. You want to do it or I do it?
Do you need me to do it?
You go ahead, you do it. Okay. Or I'll try to hold it.
Put your hand down. You can cut all that, right?